Thank you. No action taken in executive session. We are still on item number 2, discussion regarding salary adjustments. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak in a committee that I am not a member of. I am also going to overstep here and suggest that the committee pass a resolution requesting that the budget officer review 48 positions and any others that are identified in 2022 for whether they're appropriately compensated. I'm just throwing
Budget
that-
Officer Thomas, do you have anything you want to,
throwing it out there.
any comments to make?
But we don't know it's going to be Frank, do we?
No, we don't.
I hope it is.
My comment is that we spent a lot of time with these evaluations, and we spent nearly a whole day going over all these pay increases. Y'all know who was there, and you know if you were there or if you weren't there. But my understanding of that chart was that you didn't necessarily go to your top step based on how many years you'd been here. But you got a increment along that line, but that was based on merit. Now, if I misunderstood what the purpose of the chart was, then but if you're going to bring everybody to their what their top year is, then there's no point in having the chart other than tell you how much the increase is going to be.
Is the committee comfortable leaving this on as a pending item? Brad, Supervisor McGowan,
Yes, but I wanted to speak.
go ahead. Yes.
To help move this on, and I don't have a problem compensating the people that, have gone above and beyond. It's just the large amounts at one time I have the concern with, because I'm gonna have to answer that to the people outside these walls and probably some employees inside. So is there a way that we can do X amount? Instead of the annual 3. I mean, Frank has worked out the budget for this year, and he's put a lot of time and he does a great job at it. And, there's a reason why we are stable now, and that's due to a lot of the excellent work that Supervisor Thomas does for us, and us all agreeing with it. So the process is just not, 1, 2, there's the sequence here. I just want to leave it on discussion.
Okay, fine. And we'll move on. The next item, another matter for 2022, is the matter of the stipends for majority, minority, and chair. Do I have anyone who wants to make a motion to this effect on the committee? All right,
What,
we will move on and go to our next item, which I am adding, if anyone doesn't object, request from the county attorney's office. Mr. Elman. Supervisor Garrity, go ahead.
I'm just going to ask the county attorney, could you just explain the resolution? Absolutely. Thank you.
In your mic, please.
And I'll
Thank you.
work my way through request 20.
not enough time.
Okay.
The New York State Legislature modified state law to change the statute of limitations under what's called the Child Victims Act. And what that did is that opened up the door for an individual who may have suffered abuse as a child at any time in the past to file a claim for monetary damages, irregardless of how long ago it occurred. The county has received and been named as a defendant in a number of these Child Victim Act cases. My office, along with the Self-Insurance Department, for months has undertook a difficult and time-consuming review of ancient document boxes in an attempt to find any proof, documentary proof of insurance coverage which the county had going back to 1970, which is the earliest date of any allegation against the county in any of the pending litigation. And they were able to find some proof of insurance coverage for many of the years that are in question between 1970 and 2004. In fact, many of them were found just in November of this year. Some of those cases are very active and moving forward under court direction. My office immediately took the proof of insurance that was found, either forwarded it to the current insurance, to the named insurance carrier, or the entity which has taken over responsibility for that former insurance carrier through buyouts, takeovers. The individuals set forth on those insurance, proof of insurance may not be in existence, but some entity has taken on responsibility for claims. So we forwarded a demand for coverage to trigger coverage to all of the insurance carriers that we now have some documentary proof of coverage for a particular year. Earlier this week, we received a declination notice or a notice that a particular insurance carrier would not assume the responsibilities under the policy, setting forth specific bases under a policy for declining coverage. I don't want to get into too much detail on the details of that declination. However, the only recourse which the county has, which every insured party has in the state of New York, is an action for declaratory judgment, which is a rather a quick method of getting a matter in front of a judge to declare a party's rights and responsibilities. And what I'm seeking is, because this issue of reopening the Child Victims Act and the liabilities associated with it is kind of an unfunded, unanticipated expense for insurance carriers. There's a possibility we will receive other letters declining to assume responsibility and to defend the county. So the proposed resolutions that's attached asks this committee to forward for consideration to the Board of Supervisors that the county attorney may file and prosecute any declaratory judgment action necessary to enforce insurance coverage under the Child Victims Act for cases where the county's been named as a party. If and when we receive any, for the denial we've just received, as well as any future denials, so I don't have to wait maybe 30 days to get permission to move forward when we want to move forward as fast as we can, because coverage is crucial.
Thank you.
Are you comfortable making that motion?
Sure.
Thank you Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion? This is the one that's separate from your agenda, the separate resolution there. Okay, everyone's good? Supervisor McGowan.
This is a tough situation that New York State's dumped on us. And like I said, to go back to 1970, we're probably talking punch cards back then. It was way before computers. But punch cards used to be used in the insurance business. So if we find any of them laying around in the basement, don't get rid of them. That's probably our policy. But no, I think this is a good move. But you know, and nothing against the state. You know, these types of actions should have never happened, but they have. But where the state is on our throats to pick up the cost of this, I mean, how many people have records from 1970?
And
Yeah, please. Brad,
The Child Victim Act opened the door for allegations against any person or entity.
I'm aware of that.
And that's a policy determination that was made by the state legislature. You know, the claims could be as old as the people are. I mean, there could be claims from the 60s or the 50s, or depending on how old somebody is, you know, from the 40s or 30s under the Child Victims Act, so long as they initiated a lawsuit within that window that was opened up from 2019 into 2021. So, you know, I don't know if the legislature will reopen the window for more individuals to file in the future. Again, that's a policy decision, but it's not necessarily just the county. It's any individual that's being sued for negligence related to abuse.
So a follow-up on that. So
Yes.
This resolution, explain it in simple terms for me.
It would give my office the ability to file a lawsuit against an insurance carrier and to immediately get in front of a judge, for the judge to determine that the insurance carrier either does or does not have the obligation to indemnify the county,
Okay.
pay any future judgment, and pay the costs of the defense.
Gotcha. All right, I'll third the motion.
okay, good. Without further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. We do have the matter, I'm sorry, do you have anything else, Mr. Alman?
I was asked for an attorney opinion concerning the role of the current chair upon the expiration of her term under County Law 151-4. County Law 151-4 states that the term for the current chair expires at the end of the calendar year for which the chair is appointed. There's a prior opinion from my office in 2018 that states the chair may have the ability to hold over into the new year. I've done a tremendous number of hours of research on this issue, probably more than I should have. And I've come to the position that that prior decision is not necessarily wrong, but it's not the position I can offer going forward. And what I mean by that is there is no clear legal determination of the question of whether or not the chair for the Board of Supervisors can hold over past into January until a new chair is appointed or selected rather. But my legal recommendation, and I have an opinion which I can provide to members either by email or in hard copy, is a recommendation that between those two options and the lack of any clear guidance, that the current chair and future chairs do not undertake further action as the chair after the end of the calendar year, and that they treat the expiration of their term as the end of their official functions. The follow-on question to that may be a future discussion next year about a local law to clarify some of the provisions of county law as it affects the organization and conduct of the Board of Supervisors. That's, for me, that's a very, very short summary
Of a lot
of
of,
a very long opinion, which I'll make sure everyone gets a copy of, either hard copy or email all the Board of Supervisors later today.
okay. But just to summarize what you just said is that we will not have a chair between January 1 and whenever we select our next chair.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm recommending that the current chair not assume the roles of a holdover officer as of January 1st, because it's not clear to me that the authority to hold over vests in the chair for the Board of Supervisors. That's always a decision to be made by the elected official. But that she not undertake any
Not take any
actions
action.
as the county, on behalf of the county during that term, specifically for risks of litigation and liability. With the follow-on recommendation that this be more formally addressed, because the county has the ability to change state statute under county law to remove some of these ambiguities.
Chairwoman Sieber.
Thank you. I very much appreciate the time and attention that went into this matter, County Attorney, and I think it's very important for the record that this is not only shared with our board members, but with the public. Once again, we're in a situation where the board will have to act this year to request a local law. Municipal home rule, from what I understand, will have to be requested to address the fact that when you have a chair, the holdover needs to be done officially through the state, asking that if the chair is reelected in their particular municipality, that they are afforded the opportunity and authority to act as chair as a holdover. And if they are not reelected, my suggestion would be to have the vice chair be able to have that authority. But that is something that I am respectfully asking remain on the personnel agenda for the next meeting, and ask that we do not waste a lot of time with this. It will take 6 months or so to get this corrected and for consideration in front of the state. In the meantime, I want to put on the record that I will be adhering to the advice of our county attorney. I will not be taking any type of action, as I do not believe, based on the advice that we all heard here today and the memo that will be disseminated, that there is authority for me to act as chair during that time. But the public should be aware that, unfortunately, this was looked at a couple of years ago. It was at the request of Supervisor Conover. This board, no, I shouldn't say this board, I don't believe it was provided to the board. But a memo by the previous county attorney, Mary Cassane, had opined on it and determined a different solution. And I think making sure that we're doing this in accordance with the law is exactly what we need to be doing. But because of the advice given here today, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's very disappointing that I don't want to get sued for doing something I don't have authority to do. And I don't want to be accused of not doing something that needs to be done during those first 6 days. And I would respectfully request this board to consider a reorganizational meeting to be done on January 1st or 2nd moving forward. There is no reason why, like town supervisors are sworn in, your at-large and your ward representatives are also elected to county seats. And that swearing in and reorganizational meeting should take place as soon as possible to avoid situations just like this. And we will find ourselves in the same situation if in fact this board cannot get to a majority vote for the selection of chair. And that is a whole nother issue that I am sure we will hear from our county attorney about, because once again, we don't have the authority to have someone be a holdover. So I will take the advice of our county attorney, and effective at the end of January 30 or December 31st. That's it.
It is duly noted what you have stated on the record. Supervisor Driscoll.
I was just going to concur with the chairwoman. I think it makes a lot of sense. Thursday is the day that a lot of family members and friends and general public aren't available in most years in order to attend that type of a ceremony. I know I'm going to be going to the City of Glens Falls swearing in ceremony at 1 o'clock on Saturday, and it just makes a lot of sense, possibly even an evening meeting, so that those towns that do have late morning or early afternoon ceremonies, we could still put that together. So something to discuss for next year.
I agree. And I've added it onto my pending items list. Supervisor McGowan, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I mean, you look at the President of the United States as president until the swearing in of the new president was what, on January 20th or something, whatever that, date is. So this is definitely something we need to look at. We've been lucky in the past, and really we need to move forward on this. Like I said, either do it on the 1st or the 2nd, and or have the holdover until it's convenient for all the supervisors to do it here at the board. But right in the middle of this pandemic, it scares me to think that otherwise we'd have to have what, an emergency board meeting. We all have to come in.
Right,
So
right. No, not an org meeting, an emergency board meeting. I think we
an
could call
emergency
that.
board meeting. Are we allowed to have an emergency board meeting if something came up and we needed to get together yesterday.
Let me just direct that to Mr. Alman.
My understanding is that the first meeting of the year has to be an organizational meeting, that it is required by statute to be set in December of the prior year by the existing board, and that it must be done on written notice to all incoming supervisors.
Well, that I understand, but what happens if we have an emergency situation and we don't have a sitting chair person, chairwoman or man to handle that for that period of time? Do we have an emergency board meeting with all the supervisors here
No,
with no acting chair?
No.
no, because there are no supervisors.
Oh, that's a good point. We won't have been
All
sworn
right,
in
we're
yet.
not- we're not
Yeah.
Supervisors yet, yes, so
Yeah.
all our jobs end on the third. Yippee! It's
Okay,
like a
okay.
party.
We still have one more thing to do, guys. But go ahead
I
Supervisor.
was just gonna say 20 inches of snow on January 4th. I mean, who makes the call?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have an answer. That's the
Okay.
problem. We don't. Mr. Alvin, go ahead.
I need to clarify one point that's very important. And in the written opinion and my statements today, I in no way stated that the 2018 opinion that was issued by my office was wrong or incorrect. Rather, this is truly an opinion, meaning there is no case law that I could identify out of over 200 cases that I reviewed that addressed this issue for the chair of the Board of Supervisors. So in no way, shape, or form is the 2018 opinion wrong or incorrect. There's a choice between two options, and given the current climate, my recommendation, given the current climate on the board and in the public, my recommendation to the current chair was to avoid the risk of litigation and liability by assuming responsibilities after the expiration of her term under the statute. I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that was clear.
Okay, so I guess if something really dreadful happened, maybe we could reevaluate that scenario between January 1 and January 6th is where we have to leave it for now. Because we can't do anything to change the org meeting and that's that. Okay, but I will leave that on as a pending item for personnel. We have one more other item that I need to cover. One, it has to do with the expiration of other terms of office, and there's two areas
Point-
I'd like,
Point of order.
oh boy.
I'm sorry.
Yes, state
Chairwoman,
your point.
would you let the record reflect that you lost a quorum and I'm now part of your meeting in order for you to continue business because our standing rules are.
Thank you. Okay, we still have a
Who's our
quorum of three.
There's three people.
I totally apologize for my point of
That's
order.
okay.
It is completely wrong. I owed you
Your
one
point
back
is
this
not
year, I
well
think.
taken.
I will now sit down. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Very good, fine. Getting back to what is not actually on the agenda, but it does have to do with expirations of other terms. That's okay. We have two bodies, special committees, boards, being the ARPA committee and our Board of Ethics members. And I would like a motion that we, as the Personnel Committee, forward to the full board to extend their appointments into 2022. So a reappointment of those committees into 2022.
Got it.
Supervisor McGowan. Supervisor Driscoll on
No,
the
just-
second.
Yeah, I just
And-
had one question.
Discussion?
The ARPA is until the fund process has been exhausted.
Well,
Or is there
actually,
a specific date for that?
there is a specific date. Administrator Moore, did you have that?
The expirations of all of those offices for both the Board of Ethics and the ARPA Committee
Okay, all
are
right.
listed in our records as December 31st, 2021. And I believe they're all.
No, I guess I'm going forward. What committee we're talking about now? The Ethics Committee is a 2-year appointment, correct?
That's true. So theirs would
Yeah.
be through the end of our term.
So the ARPA is until all funds have been expended or
Sure, we can do that.
a specific date? I mean. you know.
I don't think we should put a specific, or
I
unless
don't think so
actually,
either,
Yeah.
Until the money runs out.
Well, we might not be elected. when it runs.
Well, let's say through our term as well, through the end of
Okay.
2023.
All right, okay, that's pretty safe.
So we'll
If-
do
if
that.
We've got to amend that.
Brad,
Uh,
Supervisor McGowan, is that amendment okay with you as well? To your motion to reappoint, okay. Any further discussion?
On this one?
Nope, I need to call the question. All those in favor of the reappointments through 2023 for those two committees, boards? All, and please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, that carries. So that'll go to the full board. And next up is privilege of the floor. For any other items, go ahead Supervisor McGowan.
Yeah, I was really, well, caught off guard there with the salary adjustments for the 222 and the, or the request to amend the table of organization for the salary schedules for, the other positions, the majority and minority, the chair of the board. I was hoping to maybe have a discussion on it, but,
Go ahead.
you moved it on there pretty quickly.
I did. I didn't want to. Go ahead. I didn't want to belabor the point. Go ahead, though. It's privilege of the floor.
Well, I mean, I would like to, I don't know if it's worth it now because we're right down to, just the three of us. And it's gonna open up a big hoorah at the board meeting. But I thought we could at least have a civilized discussion. I mean, all year I have heard nothing about, good about the majority and the minority. But yet I see that it's worked out very well for us. In one sense, between you and Mr. Beatty. It was so I just wanted to open up the discussion of, taking these stipends away and if that's the way, to do it, because we all have made a commitment, and should we be doing this for the money or do we do it because we want it?
We have certainly heard a lot this year about the stipends being problematic, and we also talked about reevaluating this at the end of this year for 2022, and I've had it on the agenda. It was tabled and, tabled for pending. Ben, do you have any comments?
Yeah, and then I've got to leave. I apologize. But there's two issues, apples and oranges. So there's the majority and the minority positions, and then there's the request for the chair. And to my thinking, those are two different issues for me to consider, and or two different discussions. And I'd like to have those discussions with the two new supervisors and the rest of us in 2022. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So Supervisor, I'm sorry, Chairwoman Sieber, I couldn't hear what your comment was.
I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn, if I may.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Driscoll, I think to your point, at least then we would have the discussion in 2022. All year long, we said we'd have it at the end of this year, and, it keeps getting thrown back. So if you pass it out of this committee to the full board, at least there'll be a full board discussion on it. And I think, everyone was very vocal this year, how much they hated those positions, and how they didn't think there should be a stipend. The fact is, our caucuses met, they had discussions. We did what we could to comply with the law, and now we're here at the end of the year and we're asking people for their opinion. Unfortunately, what happened, Supervisor Driscoll, is that everyone was asked to get their opinion of Ryan Moore on the municipal home rule, which Supervisor Thomas brought up as a suggestion to get moving and get this done. And only a couple of people responded to him, and they were in the negative, that they didn't want to move forward with it. So if they don't want to move forward with it, the other option is get a resolution of the full board to talk about it. And as far as I'm concerned, I've always said it, get rid of the stipends. And I just wish that we'd have a full board discussion on it and pass a resolution to the board. That's all.
Well, you bring up a good point, and what I've been advised is that these resolutions we're passing out of committee today will go to our org meeting. We'll go to the organizational meeting on January 6th where we can hash it out.
And may I?
So do we need a resolution for that?
We do, Supervisor McGowan, that you'll make that motion?
I'll make the motion to make sure that to discuss the full board or organizational meeting.
And I'll second it. Supervisor Driscoll, though, you had your hand up again.
No,
No.
I,
Chairwoman?
No, just my only point on discussion is then that way, if the board wants to get rid of them, if they want to get rid of the salaries, if they want to get whatever they want to do with them at the org meeting, they can have that dialogue because resolution's going to sit right in front of them. So I wish the full board would have the chance to debate it. So thank you for considering it.
Yes, of course.
agreed, and then there's also the opportunity to do a new resolution possibly to discuss the two positions and then the chair position separately. If that's what the full board wants to do.
That's true. Okay,
Do we need amended on that?
No.
motion?
No,
Gonna
no,
call a
I'm
vote?
I'm good with it. I'll
okay.
vote.
I'll call the question.
Yay.
Unless there's any further discussion.
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. All right, there's anything else? Privilege of the floor, public comments. I see Don Lehman is on, and I'll give anybody else on Zoom supervisors a chance. Let me see if Don, he's not there. Okay. Oh, he did. Then we're okay.
He's home making dinner.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
and Supervisor Leggett.
All right, I've got some supervisors who are not on the committee who want to
Happy New
say
Year, Frank.
something. Go ahead, Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm glad that you guys are pushing this forward to the org meeting. As you recall, last January, the majority minority situation, the stipends were passed 18-1. 18-1 was the vote that this board wanted to do those positions because the old positions of stipends for the chair and so forth was illegal. So we were doing it illegally for all these years. So Chairwoman Sieber checked the law, found out it could only be compensated through the majority minority, which, by the way, I added up how many times we did talk, Miss Minority Leader. I think it was 142 times this year that we had different meetings, but yeah, it wasn't 150. It was about 142. But that being said, I will find it absolutely appalling if this board, because of the volume in which they express themselves halfway through the year, kept saying they wanted to get rid of these positions, and that's fine with me. And the stipend positions, that's 100% fine with me. I know a couple of people want to wait until the two new people get on board. We're getting two new supervisors that total of 4% of the county residents. So I'm not sure how that's going to really play out either way, seeing that 96% of the people on this board were reelected and their votes. So I look forward to that discussion. I'll find it very hypocritical of anybody on this board that all of a sudden now wants to pay those positions or go back to the old way, which was, again, illegal. Illegal. Under these past chairmen, they were paying out the compensation that was not authorized by the state to do it. So, this will be an interesting conversation, but I expect it to be a 20-0 vote in favor of eliminating those positions and probably compensation for the chair itself. But thank you. Thank you.
I do want to note that Supervisor Driscoll had to leave. We do have the chairwoman here, so we still have a quorum. I don't anticipate any further action in any event other than adjourning. Supervisor Leggett, I was advised that you had your hand up to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed what the last vote was about. Could you inform me?
The last vote was item number 3 on our agenda, which was to defund the positions of majority, minority, and chair of the board. So that will go before us in 2022 with the new board members present.
At the full board meeting?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? I wasn't able to hear from Don Lehman, so I am not going to be able to accept any public comments as there's no one here in person. Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chairwoman Sieber.
Thank you. I very much would like to make that motion to adjourn, but I'm very excited to be voting on your committee here today. But before I do so, I wanted to thank the extraordinary efforts that you went through this year, Minority Leader Bramer. Your leadership with personnel, the time and attention that you put into this county, it was nonstop all year long. And I feel it's been a privilege to serve alongside you, and you should be commended for your hard work. And I didn't want today's meeting to end without thanking you for that leadership. And I hope it sets an example for many, many other people. So thank you very much. And I'm happy to make your final motion to adjourn.
I appreciate your kind words, and I was happy to serve in this role. It was really great opportunity. Thank you. Supervisor McGowan on the second.
I would give a second, but I'm also going to give an amen on that because you do deserve it. And thank you. It's been a great year with you, and I look forward to next year still working with you. So thank you for everything.
Absolutely. All those in favor?